going on, guys? It's your buddy Jake here again. I'm out in another Walmart parking lot. This time I'm in West Virginia. I went to Pete last night, Peterson Event Center. It's about 4 in the morning now, so I got out of the show and just started driving a little bit, see how far down I could get. And it's starting to snow out a little bit, so I think I might call it for the night, crash here, and then drive tomorrow. But last video I put up was I was in the hotel, and the day after that was the Met show. So I haven't recorded one since then. I've been so busy driving around. So this is how my day went for the Met. I had I had the hotel the night before. So woke up, got my crap together, got out, went over to McDonald's, started doing some remote video editing, which I do for my regular job. Once I got some of that done, I left and then got over into the city of Philly. I was about a half hour away at my hotel. So I got into the city of Philly probably around 2:30, maybe 2:30 or so probably. Found a little McDonald's probably a block away from the venue. Parked my car back behind it because it was free parking. The city, Philly, the area that the Met in is, it's not the nicest area to be in really, I feel, but it's also not terrible at the same time. So I felt kind of uneasy parking there, but ended up working out fine. I had no ticket to the show, was not expecting to go in, just kind of, I knew I was just like, I'm just going to go and, report it for the, the documentary thing, and then, probably just leave and head over to Pittsburgh. So then I got down there. Like I said, it's probably about 2:30. It's probably getting closer to 3 o'clock now. So yeah, there's a big, long line that wrapped around, from the main entrance around the long side of the building there. I just grabbed my camera. I saw a bunch of people up with their fingers in the air, trying to offer, the average offer is probably like $400 or $500 for a ticket. And there was maybe 20, 30 people I saw walking around just on that little sidewalk strip looking for tickets. There's a lot of people trying to get into the show. So me having, I love Phish, but I'm not going to drop $500 on one show. That's like what I'm paying for this whole tour, just for, for tickets. So I would throw my finger in the air occasionally, and I was not ever expecting to get anything, and nobody did give me a ticket. So anyway, I just started recording, seeing what it was like down there. Started getting some interviews with some people who had been, out there since before noon or so. And I was asking them what they saw people were offering for tickets. Apparently one guy said that he saw someone offering $1,000 cash plus a cruise. So like maybe give them their cruise pass or something. So I don't know how much like the cruise costs, but that's, I would imagine $1,500, $2,000 minimum. And then I saw a lot of people that were offering, obviously the hotels and, all sorts of different illicit substances and prints and just anything, Madison Square Garden New Year's floors they were offering for the Met ticket. And, a few people got bites. A few people I know had gotten tickets from that. So while I was doing all of this, interviewing, there was no, like, shakedown or anything like that. So there wasn't, like, a lot seen or anything per se. It was more so just the venue and then the people outside of the venue trying to get in. That was just, like, the scene down there. There's everyone that had their had won their tickets. They were all in the line. They got their pass or whatever, and then they, screwed off, went off and did whatever they wanted to do, And then it was mostly just people out there looking for tickets for, a few hours. So meanwhile, I'm getting all these interviews. It's probably, 4 o'clock, 4:30 at this point. I had gotten a handful of interviews, and then I ran into my buddy Johnny, who I'd interviewed. I didn't know him, like, at all. And then I met him the second night of Providence and interviewed him and a few other people that I had met. They were all a group together. So I had met them there in Providence. And then, he said he was looking for a ticket. He said he had $400 cash he was trying to buy a ticket for. I was like, best of luck. I got a quick little shot of him. And And then I didn't see him for a little bit. And then maybe a half hour later, I run into him again. And he's just like, dude, I got my ticket. I'm like, no way. Like, I was so happy, hyped up for him because he really wanted to go to this show. And he ended up paying only, well, I say only, but he paid $250 for it versus the $400 he was going to pay, I guess. So that's not bad. Now I was psyched up. He's getting in the show. I was all happy for him. So before all of this ever happened, when I first got to the venue, I started walking around and I heard something about a wait list that, in case people canceled that had gotten tickets, that had won tickets and then they ended up canceling, like they're not showing up or whatever. Apparently I heard they were going to fill the seats. Now I heard a bunch of numbers about this. All right, I heard that they had 40 seats that they were going to have on the wait list. I also heard that 40 people had canceled, and that means 80 people were going to get let in. And I had also heard that only 2,000 of the tickets had sold, which left 1,500 tickets for people just to walk in to the show, I guess. I don't know. So no one really had a definitive guess or answer as to how many people were going to get let in. But the logical thing at that point was to go sign up on the list, try to get in. So the guy who was writing the list down, this is kind of an interesting thing about how this all went down. I was looking around, where do I do it? Is there like somewhere inside the Met I do it? Do I talk to someone that works there? Maybe they know. No one really had an idea. So then I just started talking to like other fans that were out there that had been there looking for tickets. Asked them if they knew where the list was. They said go across the street. So, I went across the street and there was a guy there with just like a hat on. He had like a scarf thing, like a jacket. He just looked like, like a normal, like regular guy. And didn't think anything twice, but it turns out he was the one that had the list. So he did not work for the Met. He did not work for Sirius XM. He did not work for Phish. I asked him this personally. So he told me that apparently the Met said if they're going to be letting people in, we had to organize ourselves. They weren't just going to let a mass of people try to bum rush the door, which makes sense, logical. So he took it upon himself to start taking a list of everybody's names. He must have started this before noon. Probably 10, 11 a.m. he probably started doing this. And I saw him leave to go into the show at about 6:30, maybe 7, something like that. Like right when, a little bit before the band was supposed to go on. So he had basically stood there, took everybody's names down, completely voluntarily, unpaid for 7-8 hours or so. So big kudos to that guy. Really appreciate it. Now when I got over there, I got number 209, and this was at about, like I said, 3 o'clock or so. So I figured there's just, I'm not getting in. It's fine. It's whatever. It's good my name's on there, I guess, but I'm not getting in. So it wasn't a disappointment because that's what I was originally thinking in the first place. I wasn't planning on getting in. So flashback to when Johnny got his ticket. He got his ticket buying it off of someone for $250. Apparently he had been there early in the day, like 12. I think he got there right around noon. I was congratulating him about his ticket, and then it came up that he was going to see if he could try to put my name for his spot on the list. Now, mind you, he could have sold this to somebody to make back some of his $250 that he had just spent on the ticket. And I just met him before this. I did not know him at all before this, before Providence Night 2. I saw him then, and then I saw him here. And that was, only 2 times I've ever seen him in my life, So he was super kind, such a nice, great dude, Johnny. For watching this, thank you again so much. Because when we went and talked to the guy just writing the names on the list, he said it's no problem. He scratched off Johnny's name, wrote my name down, and bam, like that, I was number 29. So now my chances of getting in have gone from completely 0 to maybe if they let 209 people in, to holy crap, I'm like actually have like a strong chance of getting in this show if I'm number 29. We went over and talked to him. The list was at about 300 people, and this is around maybe, I don't know, like I said, like 4:30 something, I don't know, sometime around there, to be honest. I'm not positive. So now my name's on the list, number 29. doors open, people are starting to fill into the Met. People aren't really standing outside too much anymore. It's starting to get dark, it's getting cold. And then I'm, just kind of walking around with my camera still, getting shots and interviews with people. And then I hear, everyone line up. I'm like, what the hell? I got my camera on me, and I'm like, I gotta go check out and see what this is. And apparently they were lining up everybody who was on the list. Number 1 is in the front. Number 300 plus, whatever the last number was all the way in the back. So they put us across the street from the Met, lined up. They wanted single file, but that's not gonna happen. We were probably 3 people wide or so the whole way back, but we were in order. We got ourselves in order, which is nice. So we started standing out there waiting, and right before this, I heard this happen. I'm like, this is my chance. So I booked it. I hightailed it over to the McDonald's, dropped my camera off because I can't bring my camera in because it's the Met. You can't bring cameras into any show. So dropped it off. Ran all the way back, and then now I'm finally in line. I'm in spot number 29. I have a fairly strong chance of getting in the show. I don't know what to expect. So I start talking to people around me now. I'm in line, number 29, and, we start just wondering, no one had a clue, so we're like, maybe they're just lining us up here because there's like 350 people just outside of the Met, maybe it's just a crowd control thing, and they're not going to let us in the first place. No one had a clue at all. Not even the guy taking the list or anything. No one knew how many people were going to get let in. They did not say a word, So time goes on here. We got I think this is about 6:15. I think we're actually lined up. We started getting in the line maybe around 6, and then we're lined up 6:15. And what do we do but just stand there? There's nothing to do. Stand on the corner. And it gets closer to 7:30, which is when the show was supposed to start on ticket time. They never start on the ticket time, but that's what the ticket said. Now, this is a little bit of a controversy alert. So I'm talking to people behind me, and they're like, oh, yeah, we've been out here all day. What time did you get here? I'm like, I got here at about 3 o'clock or so. And then they start getting just pissed off. They start getting mad, like angry. They're like, we've been here since 10. Go to the back of the line. Go the F to the back of the F in line. They start getting like mad, like mob mentality. And there's like 4 of them. They just start yelling at me. They're all chapped up, And I'm trying to explain to them that my buddy had been in line before me. He ended up buying a ticket, and I swapped in. And basically, if he never bought that ticket, he would have been right in my spot. And I think anyone would have done what I was in the position to do in. However, I do understand where they're coming from because, they had been out there, a few hours before me. They had been waiting. So, I think it's justified for them to feel that way and to think that way and to be upset. But I think like when they started kind of like mob mentality, started just cursing at me and telling me get the F out of here and all this stuff. A few other people came up and were just like, what's going on here? Like you guys need to relax, to them. And they started yelling at me and stuff. And then I just kind of, I tried explaining. They kept yelling over me saying, F you, get the F out of here. And I'm just like, you can't, these people, they didn't want to listen to anything I had to say. So I never got the story out to them to explain it. They just knew I got there at 3 and told me to get out of there. So I just kind of turned around. I said, you know what? I'm not gonna argue with these guys. They don't want to listen. So I just turned around, just ignored them. Start saying, kind of like spiteful things, like I'm in Philly, I keep my knife on me, and all this. Like I don't know if they're trying to be threatening or like what, but like they're in line to go into a show. I know they don't have a knife on them. They're not going to bring that into the show. But anyway, all of that aside, they just kind of forget about it after a while. And keep in mind, they're right behind me. So like the odds of them letting 29 people in, but not the 30th person, even though the 30th person was another person from that crew that got me. But I guess they're 31st, 32nd, 33rd, 34th, something like that. But the odds of them just cutting off in those few people, I feel would be lower than if they were, 50 people, 10 or 20 people behind me at least. But I don't know. It is what it is. I don't know. They got mad at me. I ignored them. And then just stood in line. So, stood in line from about 6 o'clock until about 8, doing nothing, standing there. Started chatting with people, making some friends with the rest of the people who around me were, like, super cool. They were, cool people. The person right behind me is one other person from that crew in Providence that I'd met. There was, like, 4, 5 people that I'd met that were in that first interview, and I saw most of them at this next show. And I spent the whole time just, like, hanging out with them and chatting with them, when I could, because they're, like, really, like, nice people, they're cool people. So anyway, it's about 8 o'clock now. Show was supposed to start about a half hour ago. All of a sudden, a guy from the Met comes across the street, and they're chatting with the guy who kind of took over from the guy doing the list. He's kind of the one. There was, like, 2 or 3 people that were actually organized in this whole. One did the list, one kept us in order, and then one, like, made sure we were right in our little line. We went inside. But anyway, the Met guy came over. He said, all right, we're going to have the first 5 people. All right, so they took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They took the list out. They read the name, made sure it was you. They said they were going to check IDs when they told us to line up, but I don't recall them ever checking ID. I think that was just kind of a way to, like, if you're going to try to sneak in the line, they're just, like, saying it's not going to fly. So it's kind of good that they said that, even though they didn't do it. I think it was, like, useful in the fact that maybe some of the fakes got weeded out. So they took the first, like, 5 people or so, walked them across the street to the venue, and then they got in. So like, all right. And then 10 minutes later, the next 10 people were let in. They're kind of on, like, funky numbers. They weren't even necessarily 5. I think it was like 4, and then, I don't know, 10, like 9, and then, I don't know. It was just weird numbering. I don't think it was really too officially organized. But the point was to keep it, like, small chunks of people. That way they walk them across the street together. They do it a little bit at a time, keep everybody orderly and calm, and nobody can sneak in, because of those, 5 to 10 people, everyone knows who's in front of you, everyone knows who's behind you. So that way no one can cut in line. So we're getting up closer here. They're at, like, 14 people, and then they're at, like, 24 people. And then finally they do my name and my number, and I was concerned this whole time because the guy who did the list scratched the other guy's name out, put my name up there, but the guy who was organizing the people didn't necessarily know that. So I was kind of nervous this whole time, standing in line for 2 hours. Like, what if they just, don't let me in? But I'm like, it's the smallest Phish show in 20 years, so, I got to try it, So I'm in the little mini line. They line us up on the side, they walk us across the street, and then they give us our tickets, which came in an envelope, and then they had 2 tickets inside, and that would be for, I didn't get 2 tickets. I got 1 ticket, and then the person behind me got a ticket. So we just said we were together, which we were, that's my buddy from Providence, so we all just went in pairs, basically. If there was a single, they'd just wait on the side for someone else, another single to come up, and then they'd go in together, So it was, I don't know, they kept it kind of organized in that way. They stuck to the pair thing. And then, next thing I know, I'm inside the Met. I couldn't, I couldn't believe it, Like, I went up there and fully, absolutely prepared not to get in. Was not going to be bummed out if I didn't get in. I just figured I'll get to Pittsburgh a little bit earlier, But this is 10 times better than that. Now I'm inside the Met. I, go inside, meet my group that I'd met from Providence. We check out the venue. The inside of the venue, it's like right when you walk inside the lobby, it's like a 5-star hotel, like, lobby. It's all, like, really nice, like, granite and, like, marble, and, like, they have, like, a bar. Like, the first thing you see when you walk in is, like, this super high class bar where they have, like, like, the shelves of the bottles, but there's, like, 1, 2, there's only, like, 5 and then 5, and it's not like you go to, like, in dive bars where you see, 40 different type of liquors just stashed together. These were, like, single bottles that were, like, really nicely lit up, and, like, I don't know, it was, like, very, it's an opera house, so that's it, it's just very nice, high classy place. So my seats were, like, way up top. So we go up the stairs, get to my seat, sit down, and I took a picture of where my seat was. So it was cool. I mean, it was all the way the farthest row you could possibly be in the highest section. But I just did not care at all. I said you can throw me in the janitor's closet. I'd be fine if I was just in there to be able to listen to that show. So it was funny because the seat right next to me that I got was another person, the person before me in line, because I think we're given that whole row. I'm not sure exactly how it was all done, but they had gotten a seat where there was like a pillar, like it's something like you see in a movie where you get all hyped up to go to a baseball game or something, then they go and then that person gets that seat right behind that pillar that completely blocks out their view. It's like this, you can't see the stage. Luckily that guy was able to move down, get a different seat, trade. I don't know. He didn't need to sit there, basically. So I would have felt kind of bad if he was before me and he got that seat and I didn't. I don't know. I could see everything from where I was from. So that was awesome. So lo and behold, we're sitting there, we're waiting. And all of a sudden, one of the guys comes up that was behind me that was, cursing me out earlier in line. He cursed me out and then I stood next to him for 2 hours. Didn't say anything. He comes in, he sits down. 5 minutes later, he starts apologizing to me. Saying he's sorry. He's saying that he'd been out there longer, and that's why he was mad and all this. And I accepted the apology. Like, it totally made sense to me why he was upset. I think he could have handled it a little bit better, a little bit differently. But the fact that that one guy did apologize, kind of gave some faith in people. Because you got to think how awkward that would be to get, go through that and then have to stand right next to someone in a show. That would just be like kind of, I don't know, on weird terms, unresolved if he didn't apologize. But either way, I accepted his apology. I forgot about it. I said, it's whatever. Let's just enjoy the show. Like, I'm just so psyched to be in there. I completely stopped caring about it a while ago before I even got in there. And, we just stood over near him and we watched the show. It was fine. This could never happen. So I'm up there. I can see the stage very well. The band wasn't on yet. So, I just kind of looking around. Everyone in there got a free poster. So I went up. I got my free poster. Pretty cool. I guess Pollock was there signing them if you had $20 to donate. But I didn't know where, he was. Maybe I got in there too late. Maybe he passed the point of where he was signing it, time-wise. I don't know. I couldn't find him. I got my poster, went back to my seat. They had people walking around like it's a baseball game where they had, a big tray they're carrying with the popcorn on it. They're selling like $8 popcorns. And they had, just typical, stuff you'd see in a show. They'd have like beer and stuff. And then they had like a classy kind of like bartenders at all of those stations. I think they had like mixed drinks and stuff like that you could get too. I don't know. I just got like a water and then later on I bought a popcorn because I'd been outside since 3 o'clock and I hadn't eaten anything because I was just planning on eating when I didn't get into the show, but I did. So I had to cussy out and get an $8 popcorn at my free Phish concert. So I did that. So yeah, that's the story basically of how I got into the Met. Very awesome. So thank you, Johnny. Thank you, the whole Providence crew. You guys are awesome. And I really mean that. That's really genuine. This is probably the highlight moment of the whole tour, and I think it will be. I don't think anything would top that. You can go to a bunch of Phish concerts, but you can't go into one for free at the smallest venue they've played in 20 years when you weren't expecting to go in. That's not something that happens every day. So that was just a really special concert to be able to attend, and I owe it all to you guys. So again, thank you so much. So on to the music. They came out, they opened up with Hello My Baby, a cappella tune. Apparently they haven't played that since 2009. So that was a huge gap since the last time they played it. It didn't really feel like that. I felt like I had heard it live, but apparently I hadn't. And then the first Tweezer, they played that second. That was completely unexpected for a second song of a show. So again, as I say in all the other videos, I'm not going to go through the whole set list here, but the first set had a good a variety of tunes. They had the Tweezer fest kind of going through it. They started off with Tweezer in that second song of the first set, and then go into other songs, go back into Tweezer again. So that was really kind of cool, unique. And then for other highlights, Jesus Left Chicago. It's a cool tune to see. Everyone got really hyped up for that. And honestly, I like to see Kill Devil Falls. It's one of those tunes they don't play as much anymore, but it's one of my, the songs I really like off of Joy. So that was, for me, kind of cool to see. It's not something they play too often these days. And then set 2, Chalk Dust Torture, back into Tweezer again. Mike's song, Sparkle. Fishman had his little moment of glory there, ass-handed. And then, obviously the Week Apart Groove, and then they had a day, more tunes, and then A Day in a Life, was cool. And then the 2001 was probably the highlight musically of that show, because, it wasn't a super long 2001, but it really went places, it really went, beyond that territory that I was talking about. They have, their safe territory, and I think the magic really starts happening in the pushing the boundaries territory. And this was into that, beyond that territory, where it's into almost disjointed at times, but also extremely experimental, and got to something that I had never, no other style I've heard them playing, completely something original. They got it there, and then they held it there for a while, they probably a good minute or two. It was in this really out spacey, there wasn't even it was almost just percussive towards the end of the jam. It was just a bunch of effects. Trey had a bunch of delay effects and stuff like that, and then Paige was kind of laying over some synthy kind of stuff on top, textural kind of stuff, not so much of a soloist kind of a thing, but a layer kind of feel. And then, so that was I think musically that was the highlight of the entire show. And then ended second set with More, and then encore waste into obviously Tweezer Reprise from the Tweezer Fest. Now my overthoughts on the show musically was that it was such a special venue to be in. It was really cool, super small, beautiful. The bathrooms were all unisex bathrooms. You don't get that at a Phish show, you go in there and you wait in a line, and then there's just stalls, and then you get in there. And everything was just so different from any other Phish show I had been to. And then obviously the fact that it's a theater, opera house. It's just, the lights looked amazing in there. They honestly looked so cool because I don't know, I could see them very well because I was right down looking at them. It was also so small, and they were a lot closer. I don't know, I guess when you're in the big rooms, the smoke doesn't, the fog machines, doesn't necessarily fill out as much space as it would in there. And it was just beautiful, a great, awesome setting for the lights. But musically, I'd say it's probably about an average show, to be honest with you. There weren't many deep moments, deep jamming moments, which is not a bad thing. I try to go into every show with no expectations at all, but for this one I kind of had presumed it would either be A, kind of a festival set, or B, something that was just completely unique and would kind of piss a lot of people off that weren't there because they couldn't make it in. But it was kind of leaning more towards the festival-y set kind of vibe. There's definitely some moments in there that I don't think they would do at a festival. They wouldn't open up with a Hello My Baby. They wouldn't do an a cappella tune at all probably at a festival. They wouldn't have that 2001 jam that they had. Probably wouldn't do Ass Handed at a festival. I don't know. There's just there's this things scattered throughout it that made it kind of into the show vibe versus the festival vibe. But playing wise, I think it was more of a festival vibe type show. And that's kind of ironic considering festivals are these massive, huge things, bigger than regular Phish shows. And this is smaller than anything they've played in 20 years. But that's kind of the way it went. But I think everything was well played for most of the part. Everything, like I said, there wasn't too much exploratory, off the rails, deep kind of jams. It was more so sticking, what they call type 1 for most of the part, and then not taking too many risks. Because then again, this is also being broadcast all over Sirius, and I don't know. I couldn't really come up with a reason as to why it was or wasn't that way, but that's just kind of the way it was. But like I said, well played moments, and the solos and tunes that were just meant to be solo spots where, Trey would solo or Mike would have a solo or something like that. Those were all tight. They were all very well played, I think. And then the song selection was like diverse and nice, and it kind of would flow into each other like smoothly. There was no like rip chords or anything where it was like it wasn't going from one tune to the next tune in like a abrasive fashion or anything like that. It was, smoothly done. So that's why I'd put this at like, probably average, above average. I'd say comparable to night one of Providence, as far as where I'd rank it. I don't know. It's kind of like I hate putting shows up against each other, which one's better. But, that's like something I would compare it to from this tour. So, you got Providence night one and then this one, and then Providence night two and Nassau, which are like on the like top higher like up tier, So again, by no means is it a bad show. So if you didn't know that it was a Met show, I would not necessarily recommend to go back and listen to it other than a few moments, like a few select songs, because there's just, so much other Phish out there you could listen to that are full shows or full sets, amazing. And this was just each one. This one was more so average with a couple amazing like spots thrown in there. And if you're to listen to anything from this show, go listen to 2001. Actually, if you're gonna go listen to any 2001 as of recent, put this like on that list of like top ones recently, because a lot of like funked out, really funky kind of 2001s, but this one just went completely like off the rails, weird Phish, and I really liked it. So then after the show, get out of the venue. Of course, we're in Philly, so you walk out of the front entranceway, and then there's Nitrous Mafia, bam, right there, all over the place, selling balloons. Like, when I say all over the place, I mean like they were congested. There was a cop right outside on the corner there, by the crosswalk, and the Nitrous Mafia people would run around. They'd have 2 fistfuls of balloons, so like 8 balloons in each hand. They run by the cop, and apparently he must have had a knife or something out, because he was popping them as the guy was trying to run by him. But 5 feet, 10 feet in front of him, there's also like 8 tanks just that were being filling up the balloons. Like, he was literally staring right at them. Didn't do anything about them. I'm not going to go into a rant about the Nitrous Mafia, but point being is that you're in Philly, which is kind of their headquarters, and they're most certainly going to be out. So they were all over the place. And then I walked back to my car, said my farewells to Providence gang, hopped in it, and then started driving over to Pittsburgh. So I'm going to end this video right here. It's probably going to be a longer one. I feel like I just rambled there for a bit, because that was just such an exciting story for me to experience. So I'll go from that point on in the next video, which would be the show I just got, out of like 6 hours ago. And that is the Pittsburgh show at the Peterson Events Center. So check in again tomorrow, tell you how I went from there, and then start doing Charleston this weekend. Alright, so that's enough rambling for me. Thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, and see you guys on that.